So a question recently entered my mind. Do you keep, upgrade, or double dip? Hello brothers, my name is Daidarius, and today I'm actually gonna talk about the topic of either upgrading or double dip in your collection, because relatively recently Kodansha announced that next year they're gonna release a deluxe edition version of the Attack on Titan series and Witch Hat Atelier. And this year I have been actively trying to collect Witch Hat Atelier, and I have managed to get the first 5 volumes. But the thing is, if you know me and just look at the shelf behind me, I am a huge sucker for hardcovers, especially hardcover deluxe editions. So I was at a dilemma, I was at a crossroads. Do I keep the version I have? Do I sell this and then upgrade next year to the deluxe edition, or do I double dip? It's a good question. My conclusion was that I'm gonna try and sell these first 5 volumes that I have collected this year so I can upgrade next year. But that begs the question, when or if should you actually upgrade? Because we don't really talk about it too much, but it is a question that comes around, at least thrown at me from time to time, because when I go over my collections, people notice that I have lesser versions of some series, and I get the question, are you ever gonna get deluxe editions? And depending on the situation, these answers actually might differ. So for the first one, this was an easy choice for me, because here I have only collected 5 single volumes, and personally I don't think it is too much of a sacrifice to then just sell these off and then upgrade next year when the deluxe edition comes, because I have not collected that many volumes. So it is not too much of a hurdle for me. But there are occasions where it is. And one of those occasions is actually Parasite. I have the full story in these paperback editions. They're not singles, they're 1.5 volumes or something like that. I can't remember. But essentially, I got this, and then after I've managed to collect the whole series in this paperback, that same year, the hardcover colored edition was announced. And again, this is not hardcovers, obviously. So, am I gonna upgrade? Or am I gonna double dip? Now, I didn't want to sell these because it is 8 volumes, and it was quite difficult for me that year to collect all of them, because there was a year where they were often out of stock. So I didn't want to sell these, but I also don't want to double dip just so I could get a slightly bigger and then colored in version. For me, in this case, when it is 8 volumes and I have all of them, it was one or the other, but not both. And I chose to actually stick with this. Mostly because selling the all is gonna be a hassle, and I mean, I put so much effort into collecting it, so for some reason I'm just more attached to it, I guess. But then we have this. This is Planet Tess. There exists 2 volumes in Dark Horse 2-in-1s. If you are insane, you can get the singles, which is 4, I believe, actually. But those have been out of print for years. But I have this one. Dark Horse 2-in-1s in paperbacks. I have the other one up here. And I could easily just sell these 2 paperbacks off and then get the 2 deluxe editions. Why not? I am not, even though it's only 2 volumes. I mean, if I'm gonna sell 5 volumes of Witch Hat Atelier, certainly I'm gonna sell 2 so I can get the deluxe editions. But again, no. Because this is the first series where I had to actually put in a huge effort to collect the whole series for a decent amount of money. Because when I was trying to get that series, the second volume was out of stock everywhere. It sold for at least 3 times the price. I had to go, I think I was on page 10 or 11 of Google before I found a seller that sold it to normal price. And then after all that, the year later, it was just back in print again, so... But because I put so much effort into collecting it, I am more attached to this version of the series than I am on the hardcover deluxe editions, even though that if I could, I would collect every single series I own in a hardcover. But not this, because, I mean, I'm more attached to it. It has history with me. Again, brings up the question, when should you sell, when should you double dip, and when should you just don't give a shit? And I'm guessing it depends. Which is the most boring answer ever. It's just, it depends. It depends on you. What do you think? What do you like? What do you feel? But it's true. Because someone might look at their Planetes collection, those 2 paperbacks, and go, I don't give a shit. I'm gonna sell them off. I want the deluxe edition. I want the hardcovers. Other people's actually don't give a shit about hardcovers. They don't like them because they're dull. They're big. They're clunky to read often. They like the paperbacks because they think or believe they have more personality, and to some extent I do agree. I don't talk them down or anything. I'm not trying to make them the villain. I'm just saying. And others, I actually prefer the minimalistic look of these deluxe editions. So they of course want to sell, or at least try their best to accumulate the series in that edition. But then question comes, have I ever double dipped? And I have double dipped before, but I've only done so out of necessity. In reality, I don't think I really want to double dip if I can escape that. If I can just evade double dipping on any series, I want to, no matter how much I love this series. For example, I love Berserk to death. I am never gonna get the singles. 1, personally, I think that's ugly as shit. And 2, I think the form factor is too small for a story like Berserk. Art, story, themes and all. But out of necessity, I think, just when I'm looking over my series or collection, I have 2 instances where I had to double dip. One of them is Full Metal Alchemist, because I own the first 18 volumes in Full Metal Alchemist in singles. These are the localized Danish versions, and I've said this many times before, but in case you don't know, back in 2010, the Danish department of the Carlsen Manga, which is a German publisher, just closed down the entire Danish manga division because they wasn't selling too well, because they didn't advertise. Who knew? So the series was cancelled, and for the longest time, this was mocking me because I had an incomplete series, and it's one of my favorites. I mean, I even have one of the tattoos on my arm from that series. I like it that much. But then came along the Full Metal Edition, which is in hardcover. I mean, what's not to like? So I knew I had to double dip. I had to get this. But then comes the question, why don't I just sell off the Danish version? I mean, it is an incomplete version. You cannot get the whole thing in Danish. So the chances of me being able to sell the whole thing is very slim. And I didn't feel like I want to put in the effort for the off chance that I could just get rid of them. So I double dip. And I'm glad I did, because I love this. A different one that I double dipped on was actually Opal Blad. And the reason for that is it's Yen Press. It's Yen Press. This, you know, they just stopped printing the series because they do that with a lot of series. If they don't sell like a gazillion volumes each year, they're just gonna stop the printer. So I only have this. The same year I wanted to start collecting Opal Blad, they discontinued the printing. They just said, fuck it, we're not gonna make anymore. So I only have volume 0, which was a stark reminder of always make sure that the series, older series you want to collect, is still in print, or at least in stock. But then they actually heard my prayers, and they are now releasing the deluxe editions of Opal Blad, which is what I want really. So I have double dipped. I now have technically 2 versions of volume 0 of Opal Blad. So that is a different occasion where I actually double dip, but it's also the only other one. And then a final one, which is an interesting case, at least to me, is Vinland Saga. I think this is probably one of the most frequent questions I get on this channel. Is I see you have the, I guess, normal version of Vinland Saga. Are you ever gonna get the deluxe, considering how much you just love deluxe editions? And the answer is every time no. Again, I could double dip because it is an epically awesome deluxe edition. But, and here's the thing, this is in hardcover. The paper quality is actually quite decent. It is almost purely white, and it is easier to read than a deluxe edition. So not only is the reading experience a lot better, but it is also in hardcover, which is what I want. So it actually scratches the itch I have with deluxe editions. So for me, I don't see the necessity of upgrading, even if there is a lot more extra material that I would love to dive into in the deluxe editions. These will do, and also they look so awesome on the shelf because they have a lot of different colors. Whereas the deluxe editions, they only alternate colors for each other volume. So yeah, but again, that brings the question: when should you double dip or sell? And I mean, I think I have a few guidelines, but again, I think it's an interesting discussion to have, really, because it is not many hobbies where you are actively discussing this. Like, do you want more of the same thing, not the same concept like manga, but the same thing, the same volume story? Do you want more of the same thing, or do you want to upgrade, or what do you downgrade? Some even downgrades. And to me, I mean, the obvious one is, should you double dip? Do you love the story? Do you want to support the author even more? Then double dipping makes sense. But for me, is it worth the hassle of selling off the volumes you have to then spend more money on the upgrade? If yes, you probably should. If no, you shouldn't. And then comes the question: do you want to offer up even more bookshelf space for the same series twice, or in some cases thrice? Or are you just gonna be satisfied with what you have? And it is a difficult question to actually answer, and each time I am presented with that challenge, I have to actively think about it very hard to make sure that whatever decision I make, I don't regret it. Because again, I thought about it for a long time regarding Witch Hat. I have just spent 5 months this year collecting the first 5 out of 13, I think, volumes of this series. I was looking forward to getting more. But 5 to me was just, it was just the perfect amount. It was the line where I was beneath that and willing to make the hassle of selling it, or trying to. I haven't yet, but I'm trying to sell it and then try to buy next year. I have to wait until next year until I can read it. But what do you think? What qualifies as reason for you to keep your series, upgrade it, or double dip? Or have you even double dipped anything in your collection? I'm curious to know. And as always, until I see you in the next video, just remember to stay awesome. See ya.